Hi again. Welcome to Pearl Magazine. Tonight, amid the coronavirus crisis, private practice is reaching out to public health care. We'll meet local doctors trying to bridge a service gap in a chronically under-resourced sector.
But first, the pandemic has brought the world to a standstill. As many Western countries struggle to contain their outbreaks, Hong Kong people studying abroad have returned at great expense to the safety of their home. Reporter Alice Khan brings us a close-up look at the return migration and what it means for our already stretched healthcare system.
On March 11th, the World Health Organization classified the novel coronavirus as a pandemic. 3 days later, the U.S. declared a state of emergency amid the rapid spread in the U.S. Leaders in Washington, D.C. issued a domestic travel advisory urging most U.S. residents to avoid non-essential travel. Canada, Australia, and New Zealand are also locked down, banning entry of foreign nationals. The EU announced a lockdown on all European Union border checkpoints for 30 days. Non-EU nationals are not allowed to enter the EU. However, in the UK, the government adopted a herd immunity approach. Prime Minister Boris Johnson advised those who have mild symptoms to self-isolate for 7 days, and he insisted it wasn't necessary to close schools. To achieve herd immunity, about 60% of the population would need to get ill, recover, and become immune. The strategy backfired. By mid-February, only 9 confirmed cases of coronavirus were reported in the UK, but since then the number of infected cases, including the Prime Minister himself, jumped to over 61,000 and reported more than 7,100 deaths as of April 9th.
He just warned people should beware that you may lose your loved one or your family or friend will die because of the virus. It's really scary. Half of the students from the the student accommodation have left to and go back to their countries.
Dan Yun is a Year 1 master's degree student in public policy in London. She was thinking about leaving the UK but eventually decided to take the risk and stay in London.
My course is for 1 year, and the last part of my course is to do a placement. And I have to finish it. If I go back to Hong Kong, I need to work on the UK hours. It is a little bit difficult to adjust the working hours for me if I stay in Hong Kong. And it may also bring some inconvenience to the others as well, because we work in a group and we do the same group project. So it is difficult to coordinate with the other people.
Dan worries catching a flight may also mean catching the virus. She goes to the grocery store once every 2 weeks to stock up on food and daily necessities, and she will keep herself at home most of the time.
I have been staying at home for 2 weeks now. I had only gone out for food grocery shopping, and I think it's almost 24/7 I stay at home now, and I believe I will stay at home for the next 2 weeks as well, because I have already prepared food to eat and all of the things I need to stay at home to stay safe.
Johnson changed his strategy and ordered restaurants and theaters to close for 2 to 3 weeks. The government also urged people to stay home, but Dan believes the government policy will not work.
Most of the British people are not wearing masks here. People still need to go to work, as you can see on the news. People, during the peak hour, the tube is still like a sardine can. They still don't have control of the situation.
Fighting for food and daily necessities among the locals in the supermarket is part of the new normal for overseas students there.
People are panicked. You can't find any pasta, rice, and meat or fruit.
Yun Chin Ching is a first-year student at university. Unlike Dan, he was packing and preparing to fly back to Hong Kong, opting to face quarantine.
I don't want to die as the confirmed cases keep increasing. In my area, at the beginning, there are just 1 to 2 cases, but 2 to 3 days later, the confirmed case increased to 17. I think I shouldn't stay here for finish the homework and not back to Hong Kong to protect myself because I think life is more important.
Yun says he chose Hong Kong over the UK because he believes the city is more prepared to fight against the virus than Britain.
Because the people in Hong Kong are worried about the virus, if you have some symptoms of the virus, and the doctor and the government will help you to solve the problems. But in the UK, you cannot find some private doctors, or if you can find some doctors, they just tell you to drink more water or sleep more.
Yun says his school moved all the lectures and exams online, and the university administrators say they will sort out student visas for overseas students later. So he decided to ask his parents to buy him an air ticket home. Initially, he had already planned to fly out on April 1st, but he was eager to come back as soon as possible, so his parents bought another ticket and flew him back on March 24th. The cost of those economy tickets? $30,000, twice the price than normal. For his risky journey, Yun decided to don viral armor.
I buy some protective gears, just like the photo. It is used to cover all your body and your face to protect yourself. Because I'm afraid if you touch something and you may have the risk of getting the coronavirus. And also I have buy some goggles and some wing. The goggles is to protect your eyes.
He had a plan to survive the long flight too.
I won't eat, drink, or going to the toilet because many people will touch the toilet, and if some people have coronavirus on the plane and they touch and they're using the toilet, and it is very dangerous.
On March 25th, Yun finally landed in Hong Kong. It was the day before the Hong Kong health authorities started offering free coronavirus tests to inbound travelers and Hong Kong citizens from Europe and the US. They're given a container for the deep throat saliva test specimen. They also needed to wear a digital wristband to track them in home quarantine. A few days before, the government had implemented the compulsory home quarantine on March 19th. Yun now had to stay at home for 14 days. His parents chose to stay in a hotel. His father delivered food to him every day. He was also tested finally.
They have a QR code and mobile apps to check. I have to stay at hotel or my home and for 14 days.
Herman Hui was deep in his research at a hospital in Yangon, Myanmar. The medical student of the University of Hong Kong was supposed to finish his work by mid-April, but Herman decided to return from Yangon on March 19th, the first day of compulsory home quarantine.
There may be a lot of carriers in the society, and I may be infected as well. I'm quite worried about the condition in Yangon because I think I may not be able to get enough or proper medical care and resources in there.
Twice a day, Herman needs to take his own temperature.
It's 36.9. 36.9 should be a normal number. And then I need to clean the thermometer.
He's staying with his parents. He has his own room so he can avoid contact with them. His parents leave food outside the room. Before the pandemic hit, there were about 40,000 Hong Kong students studying abroad. Half of them were studying in high-risk areas like the UK. Their return has caused problems for healthcare workers. David Hui of Chinese University worries returnees from high-risk areas have brought the virus back with them.
Before the government introduced the compulsory home quarantine on the 19th of March, I think there were about 7,000 people that have returned the week before. Now, these people did not need to go through compulsory home quarantine, and some of them might actually have carried the virus and also introduced the virus into the community.
Hui says the current arrangement of home quarantine is not ideal.
Some of the Hong Kong families, they have very small apartments. The returnees may not even have their own rooms. So practically, it may create some problem. If you have more unoccupied public housing for quarantine purpose, that would be the best solution.
Professor Liao Poon of the University of Hong Kong said it is more ideal to collect deep throat saliva samples from the quarantined person in a centralized quarantine camp.
That requires a technical person to do the sampling, right? You really cannot get a lay people to try to take a sample by themselves, right? These require some training. I mean, maybe a nurse, a trained medical doctor to do the sampling. That will be the best way in collecting the specimen.
Professor Poon doesn't believe COVID-19 will disappear soon.
I don't think we have any evidence to show that the virus is going to disappear in the summertime. When we are in the summertime, Australia is going to be in the wintertime, right? When Australia is going to have a good experience at summertime, we are going to have a winter time. When we turn in the winter time, there will be some other introduction to get into Hong Kong community.
Professor Hui says the ultimate solution has to be a vaccine.
At the moment, there are several groups working on vaccine development. It will take probably 1.5 years before the vaccine can be commercially available.
After the break, private doctors going the extra mile during a public struggle.
Stay with us.
Welcome back. With nearly half of Hong Kong's doctors working in the private sector, providing only 10% of all medical services, public healthcare facilities were stretched long before the coronavirus pandemic.
But some private sector doctors have decided to step up. Pearl Magazine's Tina Jiang introduces us to the private physicians offering a helping hand when their help is needed most.
It's a hard time for everybody. If you're able to do something to help and inspiring people, keep people think positively, I think we should do it.
The doctors in the public sector is facing a very high pressure.
That was my second home. If she's in need, of course, I want to help.
At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Dr. Vincent Zhang has just started his first surgery of the day. He needs to open up a blocked blood vessel in a patient's heart.
First of all, we use a needle to make a puncture at the wrist. And through this needle hole, we put in all the device through little cannulas going up all the way to the heart.
The surgery is a common procedure in Hong Kong.
I think more than 10,000 patients in Hong Kong receive this operation every year.
The surgery was a success. Zhang has been a doctor for 20 years. 3 years ago, he joined this heart center and started private practice. Before that, he spent most of his career in Hong Kong's public hospitals.
I've gone through SARS in 2003 when I was in Kwong Hospital. I wasn't in the dirty team at the time, but I could feel the tension and also our colleagues' worries about themselves and also their families and also their patients.
But he wouldn't have imagined that 17 years later, there would be an even larger outbreak.
This time, the coronavirus epidemic is totally different. The virus has gone worldwide, and most importantly, we barely have a good way to treat the virus at this moment. So I think the doctors in the public sector is facing a very high pressure. It would be out of my imagination.
As of April 9th, the contagion has spread to over 900 patients in the city and caused 4 deaths. The Hong Kong Hospital Authority, which oversees public hospitals in the city, announced earlier that non-emergency services would be reduced to allow healthcare workers to focus on the epidemic. 75-year-old Choi has been waiting for the PCI surgery in a public hospital since last year.
The doctor asked me to see him in August, just an appointment. Not necessarily the PCI by then. They didn't confirm that. So I was scared. What if my situation gets worse during these few months? Will I suddenly pass away?
Dr. Zhang is worried about patients like Choi.
The hospital did not give them any appointment, so they are just waiting without any hope. Coronary artery disease is actually like a bomb in the body. It can go off any time without a clue.
If I received the surgery in the private sector, it would have been expensive. The doctor said even after a 10% discount, it would still cost $200,000. I'm retired and don't have much savings. That price is simply unaffordable.
The patients can't wait or afford to do surgeries at private hospitals, and that's why Dr. Zhang decided to start a program with the help from his colleagues.
This program is called Heartwarming Initiatives for patients in government hospital to come to private to do operations. The cost is their main concern. So we think if we can make this as a package price, then maybe some patients in public hospital would choose to have operations here. And by doing that, actually, we ease the burden of patients having heart diseases in public sector.
The typical cost of performing a PCI in government hospitals is about $63,000. The center now provides operations starting from $67,000, half of what private surgeons normally charge. As the clinic's two leading surgeons, Zhang and Lam won't charge any doctor fees for their work.
We started this project middle of February. So far we have received more than 170 inquiries from patients. And we have arranged 55 patients to see me or Dr. Zhang in the clinic. And so far we have done, up to now, 44 patients.
Choi is the first patient benefiting from the initiative.
I called the center on February 11, met the doctor on the 12th, had surgery on the 13th, and was discharged on the 14th. Just a few days to solve my problem of 10-20 years.
I use extra time to manage these patients. So I think up till now, it doesn't bother me too much. You can see there are so many good people in the society, and I'm trying to be one of them.
It's not really a project to making me rich. It's just a project that we think as a heart doctor, what can we do at this very difficult moment? I always want to inspire more people to do the same because I'm just a heart doctor. I only help heart patients. And after that, I'm glad to hear that some orthopedic surgeons in this hospital, they also volunteer similar things. I think it's impossible during this period of time to show a more positive, optimistic attitude to the general public.
Dr. Lam says since the coronavirus outbreak, the number of patients coming to see him has dropped. Therefore, he is less busy and has time to help.
In Hong Kong private sector, there are a lot of patients coming from mainland seeking medical care. Obviously, because of this isolation policy, this number dropped significantly. So I think overall, the private sector, the business drops, I think around 30 to 40%.
A drop in bookings is common in the private medical sector now.
The people, they stay at home. They really don't want to make consultations. Like many of my patients rescheduling because they're afraid of the infection. Even in the clinic, maybe the 50% of cases they booked, but they didn't come.
Unlike Zhang and Lam offering their services at a discount, Dr. Marco Ho decided to go back to the government hospital he used to work at and help out as a volunteer.
I went back regularly. Usually on Wednesday morning, I look after a clinic. That's my own interest, the immunology clinic. I usually come to the clinic sharp on time, 9 a.m. And then where some of my staff or colleagues, they are still on the ward doing their morning rounds. So the waiting queue wouldn't complain. There's no doctor seeing them.
After graduation, Dr. Ho worked at Queen Mary Hospital. For many years, the doctor was on the front line.
That was my second home. If she's in need, of course, I want to help. Many old staff and then my old patients, very happy seeing me around. We can actually quickly engaging in a very efficient way because I haven't left for long.
Dr. Ho left the public sector less than a year ago. He's among the more than 200 private doctors who have gone back to work part-time for the hospital authority during the fight against coronavirus.
Some of them report a very good experience. Some report they can do good interaction with trainees. But occasionally we receive the response that they are only give a very low-level job.
Dr. Ho thinks good matchings would make the best use of their expertise. He hopes the hospital authority can feel their goodwill. In Hong Kong, private clinics handle around 10% of the city's health services, but employ nearly half of all doctors. Dr. Ho thinks Hong Kong is fortunate to have this private-public dual-track system because patients can always choose the type of healthcare service they want. Dr. Alex Yu is in charge of a private hospital in Kowloon Tong. The hospital has been collaborating with the hospital authority for a long time.
I remember 10 years ago, when hospital authority initiated the first PPP program, public-private partnership program. We are the first hospital, and I remember right now it should be the only hospital, private hospital, that joined this program. At that time, they refer hemodialysis patients, those patients with end-stage kidney disease, to get hemodialysis in the private sector.
To ease the workload of the public healthcare system, since 2008, the hospital authority started referring patients to private hospitals by subsidizing part of the cost. Since the beginning of this year, Dr. Yu says the hospital has been seeing HA patients referred here.
We are going to accept some cancer patients referred from HA for radiation therapy. And so those expectant mothers for elective cesarean sections. There are 5 to 6 programs that they are offering at this moment, but we are going to participate these 2 first and see what happens.
He expects the first patient will be referred to them in April or May.
I think the private hospital and the public hospital are complementary to each other rather than competitive. With this global epidemics right now, I think public hospital is in the forefront of fighting against the coronavirus infection. It's time for private hospital to complement by supporting the elective services.
People always criticize those people they leave in the HA, but they all have the public service at their hearts. In fact, the private doctors, they are all trained, majority, they're all trained in HA. They really want to serve the Hong Kong community.
That's our show for this week. As the coronavirus sweeps through Hong Kong, many of us are self-isolating and using media to stay informed. But for ethnic minority groups in the city, that's easier said than done.
Next time on Pearl Magazine, how coping in a viral epidemic is extra challenging for ethnic minorities already struggling with cultural isolation. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.